Open letter to Jeff Kennet, CEO Beyond Blue. The much vaunted Beyond Blue Depression Initiative certainly receives the blessing of the community, but the reality is that its exposure of the need for men to speak out about their overpowering negative emotions has done naught to deliver the goods. Reference the worldwide escalation of suicide, depression and rising aggression. Certainly it is the time for no more secrets, as well as the revelation as to why people suffer depression, and it is my task to lead mankind into truthful awareness, as I tell a very sad and sorry tale, the story that reveals the why and the result of the folly of mankind that has led everyone into a situation wherein at some stage or another they are all soon to succumb to devastating terror, depression, anger, hatred, vengeance, etc., due to the strumming of all the dark emotions that they are carrying deep within their souls. Certainly there are occurrences that trigger the negative emotions within that then cause depression, suicide, anger, etc. But these occurrences, be they drought, or eviction, or confrontation, etc., are simply the external items that exacerbate existing inner problems. It is also possible for people to have everything, and still suicide due to the overwhelming power of the dark sins within. Negative emotions. Mankind needs to now learn that every action that is contra the command of God to go your way in peace and love one another and be merciful, compassionate, and forgiving, is the result of a mental illness. That of itself is simply a mind being telepathically subjugated from dark realms of consciousness, and thus it is troubled, and this intrusion flows through the energy essence of dark emotions. And whether you are a thief or a warrior causing grief, or a potential suicide, or simply an arrogant swine, all are spiritually ill, and in need of education and good counsel. Despite the fact that Beyond Blue has been operating since 2000, the number of people with depression and anxiety has been increasing exponentially. In summary, despite millions of dollars being spent, first on the government initiate, then on Beyond Blue, medical practitioners, and now on psychologists, depression and anxiety remain the major cause of mental breakdown in people. It is time for people to realize that the millions of tax dollars at the government's disposal will not halt the progression of increasing negative emotions that are so obviously on the rise in the population. It is also futile to believe that the religious institution of either science or the government can medicalize, in the case of doctors, or legislate, in the case of governments, or analyze, in the case of psychologists, depression/anxiety or any other negative human emotion into non-existence. Human emotions exist in every individual on this earth, and none of these emotions will ever cease to exist by ingesting even the strongest medication. Neither can they be excised with a knife or by the biological death of the physical body, for the spirit soul exists forever. Certainly medication can lessen the impact of thought flow through chemical restraint, but the moment chemical restraint is lifted, nothing will stop the emotions from returning in full force. Another light needs to be shown on the impact of thoughts on emotions, and this involves discovering how and why the material and spirit worlds collide in the arena where thoughts and emotions vie for supremacy, and is the reason for this letter that will introduce the reader to my revelations. Insanity and control and confrontation and punishment and destruction is on the rise, and the wise and unwise need to educate themselves quickly. So Jeff, I can but suggest that you use all your charisma to show God that you can use Beyond Blue to guide people to my web pages. For politicians are known by God to be vain and arrogant, and less than sages, for it is they that extort endless funds by coercion and guile, and lead so many into suicide through impoverishment, fear and depression, and they lead others to war and spiritual death. Please advise all carriers to read my 7 The ISIS Suicide Document 63p, for all to read. Sincerely, Durance. Note: human emotions exist. To presume that producing a medical diagnosis with an attendant chemical cure can halt this flow is akin to believing that the finger in the diagram is a reality. People in the helping professions are rendered powerless in the face of the explosion in the numbers of those with depression or anxiety, and many other emotional-related negative behaviors, by their own belief system in the efficacy of scientific schemata. Just because scientific research results in justification for segmentation of certain behavior into diagnostic schemas does not mean that the accompanying prescribed remedies, usually in the form of chemical restraint, is a cure. On the contrary, The hidden danger in this scientific dogma is that it is a simplification of one of the most complex issues facing humanity today. Human emotions are spiraling out of control. With or without medication, humans are exhibiting extremes of emotions in their behavior, either towards themselves, self-harm through drugs, physical self-harm or suicide, or towards others, physical, verbal or behavioral violence towards others. Emotions are a hubris of feelings inevitably accompanied by thoughts that evoke memories based on facts or fantasies, reality or fiction. Emotions are a normal corollary to being human, volatile, explosive, debilitating, anything but static. To attempt to medicalize these human emotions is impossible without damaging the individual.